And joining me now is Mr. Mufi Hannemann. He is the CEO of the Hawaii Lodging and Tourism Association, but we are talking to him in a different capacity today because he has some big news announcing that he will be running for Honolulu mayor. And the big question, I think, Mufi, is why would you do this? What compelled you to run again?
Well, having a front row seat during this pandemic crisis, where I've been working very diligently with others in Hawaii's #1 industry to try to make sure we're doing everything we can to ensure a healthy recovery. First of all, it began with making sure that people were doing what we needed to do to keep this a healthy place. So now we're ready to transition to actually opening up for business. And I've seen how difficult the situation has been in flattening the curve, if you will, but we still have not been able to end the quarantine and therefore move to the next step. I get it. But I've always said this: if you think that getting through the pandemic was difficult, you ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to economic recovery. And this is where I feel that, I can really bring something to the table. I've been a mayor. I've been there. People of Honolulu elected me twice for this important job. And this is not a small job. You're talking about the largest county in the state of Hawaii. Some have even said 12th largest city in the United States with 1 million people, with a multi-billion-dollar operating budget with 10,000 employees. So I looked very carefully at each of the candidates who were seeking this post, all very good individuals, well-intentioned, but no one has that executive management experience in government. And I've been tested. I was tested with a sewage spill. I was tested with a economic recession in 2008, 2009. And now I'm being tested in terms of what I can do to make the case that it's time to start moving to inter-island travel. And then from there, hopefully domestic travel. And then, of course, international travel. It has to be done at a pace where people will feel confident, feel safe, not just here in Hawaii, but those who want to come here. And keeping a lot of the new normal procedures that we have put in place, whether it's wearing masks, physical distancing, all those things are very, very important. And it's been a balancing act, if you will, to put that all together. So,
Hey, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that you have an experienced leader, and that's what we need now. This is no time for on-the-job training. You can't send a person who has never held an executive experience in government, executive position in government, I should say. And most importantly, if these were good and prosperous times, then take a chance with someone who is going to come in and say they're going to bring you fresh ideas, new ideas. You can't do that right now. You need tested, proven experience, and that's what I can do and I can bring to the table. And I know how to work with others. I've collaborated very well as a previous mayor. When I was there, I worked very closely with all the neighbor island mayors, and I think we all got on the same page. We also would be able to maybe make more timely, consistent, coordinated decisions. And if you have a governor who may disagree with you initially, then it would be our job as the 4 mayors coming together and getting to a good place, or helping the governor when he needs our help to move forward and convince the public. So all those things are in the mix. I've been there, done that, and I'm ready to go back and get my old job again so I can put
Wow.
people to work.
I was going to say, Mufi, tested, you talked about all of those trials and having tested and been kind of through it all, but you didn't mention rail. And I have to ask you about it because that is your biggest question, that's what everyone is talking about in terms of the criticism that you face. How would you kind of address those questions?
Sure, no problem. Interestingly, all 5 major candidates running, and with no disrespect to others, but they all are pro-rail. They've gone on the record that they're pro-rail. And I'm not the only one that has a history in government of supporting rail. 2 of my opponents have held positions as a member of the HART board, even chairing it, or a council member that's been there the last 8 years. So let me put it in this context. I started rail with a lot of collaboration with the Obama administration, with Senator Inouye, the legislature there, the council. We all came together. And when I left the city 10 years ago, it was on time, on budget, on schedule. And I let out 1 contract of the 200 plus that have gone through the years, and we had a contingency fund of over $1 billion. So 10 years later, the cost is more than double. There's been change orders galore along the way. And what I'm saying now is, let me go back and fix what I started. The
You think
problems
you can
began.
fix it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I know how to do public-private partnerships. I know how to take advantage of transit-oriented development, where that's the beauty of rail. And I've always said this, if you like rail, you're going to love TOD. Look at now, we're finally talking about a new Aloha Stadium. Why? There's a rail station. It wasn't possible before. There's private developers that are going to build that. Let's talk about Pearl Harbor. They're going to do a transit-oriented development at Pearl Harbor, right outside the gates there. That could be another Crystal City, like you have in Virginia and Washington, D.C. Jobs again, housing, retail, and the like. And then when you come through Dillingham and push up along that area where the bus station is, there'll be no more prison there in Kalihi. And that's going to free up space for what I really believe is going to be needed, affordable housing, affordable rentals. These are what we need here, our quality of life. It's going to reduce the emissions that the air with respect to what we have now with driving cars that are powered by fuel. It's an electric vehicle, the biggest electric vehicle in town. So it's going to be a daunting task, no question. But I want to be clear on this. I was not there for 10 years. I wasn't presiding over this project here, and I think it suffered from strong leadership, accountable leadership, bringing people together. So I'll go back, not necessarily concentrating on this first, because my mantra is putting people back to work. So rail is not really the major issue that putting the economy back is going to be. And so let me focus on that. Rail can bring in some benefits, but it'll be more of a byproduct of what we do to revitalize the economy, because those are construction jobs. Right now, construction workers, for the most part, are working if there's a CIP project there, or is there a private construction project that's going on.
I think the challenge, though, Mufi, is like you said, it may not be the priority for the incoming mayor, because of the recovery efforts after COVID-19, but you are so connected to it, right? You are kind of the face of that project. So I think that the challenge for the public is how can they trust you again? At least from what I've talked to, from regular people, it's like, how do you build that trust that, yes, I started this, I've been gone for 10 years, but I'm ready to tackle it again. How do you rebuild? How do you go about
Well,
kind of winning them back?
Right. Because I have the credibility to have been able to do something no other previous mayor was able to do. That was a daunting task, to say the least, and I did it in a collaborative way. So we have to regain the trust and confidence that this project should be salvageable for a lot of reasons. Number one, you can't tear it down. If we tear it down and try to stop it now, we're going to owe a lot of money to those who are already on the project, as well as the federal government. So right now it's when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. And my job now is to come in and make sure that I finish it. Folks have said if I never left City Hall, this project wouldn't have been where it is today, and there's some credence in that. But I really felt I laid such a solid foundation that all my successors would be able to do it. And obviously they did it. For
Yeah, the
whatever
federal
reason.
investigation, corruption, like all of these things that people hear about all the time, they're
Well, let me be
worried.
clear. Let me be clear. I'm not implicated, involved, or have been named in any of those. So once again, I want to be real clear. I was not there when these things happened. And that's why I'm saying I can go back. I know where the bones are buried, if you will. And we're going to bring a different type of structure to it. I'm not going to say, well, it was the previous mayor that started that problem, and therefore, blame him or what have you. I'm there. I take full accountability for the fact that I did start it. I had the vision to say that this is what Honolulu needs for its quality of life enhancements, and I still believe it's a good thing because we see what has happened. I point again to a new Aloha Stadium coming, Pearl Harbor, the TOD that will occur, but also look at Kaka'ako. Look at the development that has taken place there. Now, I think they went a bit too far in terms of the city not being at the table and saying to those developers that have profited from Kaka'ako, what can you do to get back to this project and help us spur it along, help with the expenses. They didn't do that. So rest assured, when I come in, I'm going to say everyone who's benefiting from this project, especially private dollars, private investment, you need to help us bring this to pass, bring this to fruition. So I have no qualms about the fact that this is going to be a difficult job. But once again, it has to be finished. And that's my feeling that I will do that. But I go back again, that it is all about the economy and putting people back to work in the short term. Rail is there, I know, I get it, but it's not what I'm going to focus on when I get back. If people put me back there, it's all about putting them back to work. And the credibility that I bring as a mayor who's there, elected for 2 terms. I know some people think, well, you should have stayed there. I get it. Mea culpa to all of those that feel that if it had stayed there, the rail project would have been operating. One person told me the other night, I'd be writing now if you were there. I don't know if that's really possible.
That's a lot of faith in what you could have done then, huh?
It's okay. It's okay because I think to the credit of, Kimberly Pine, Colleen Hanapusa, Keith Amamiya, and Rick Blangiardi, they've all gone on record as saying they're pro-rail. They may have a different approach than I do in terms of resuscitating the project and going forward, but I really think Hart has done a better job now with the gentleman who's leading Hart, Andy Robbins, than any of his previous folks that were in that position. So, I'll roll up my sleeves like I've always done, but this campaign is not about, bringing rail back because it's there. This campaign is all about putting people to work.
Yeah, and
revitalizing the economy.
Yeah, we were talking about reopening. Yeah, essentially, and you would essentially inherit a broken kind of bankrupt. A lot of people going bankrupt during this very difficult time. How would you appeal to those businesses that are really struggling right now? A lot of people protesting, wanting their businesses open, tourism open. As someone who leads tourism now, I mean, how do you, or hotels and tourism?
Let me be clear again, okay? If tourism doesn't come back in some form or fashion, we will continue to have one of the highest unemployment rates in the country, because there's no other industry out there that can replace what tourism does. So I'm talking about a more sustainable tourism. I'm talking about responsible tourism. I'm talking about focusing on quality of visitors, and we have a chance to do that. But it begins with ending the quarantine. It begins with inter-island travel, then domestic travel. It begins with opening up businesses, not just to cater to the local economy, because that only will go very far if people are not at work. And secondly, it also begins with bringing in travelers who want to come to Hawaii the way we want them to come to Hawaii, which is healthy. That's the number one responsibility of anyone that wants to be mayor. And then it's making sure that the health and safety of this city continues to maintain what we have now, especially in the health arena. Safety sometimes can ebb and flow, but if we don't end this economic cycle, I should say this downturn in the economic cycle, you're going to see domestic strife at home. And that's what drew me to this race, the heartbreaking stories of mom not being able to take care of their children, put food on the table because dad is out of work. Where's the next paycheck going to come from? Can they meet their payments for, the basic necessities of life? Is their health benefits going to be there when they need it? That's what drew me back into this race. Because the easiest thing I could have done was just sat back, because I'm not unemployed. I have a job. I have jobs. But I'm saying I'm willing to sacrifice all of that and go back to this world where I'm going to get criticized for rail. I'm going to get criticized for the sewage spill. I'm going to get criticized for this, that, and so forth. But at the end of the day, we did a good job. At one point in time, we had an 80% approval rating. 80% when I was there. It's on the record. And that's because we have the ability also to assemble a cabinet of Democrats, Republicans, independents. And that's the beauty of a nonpartisan race, is that people from all sides of the aisle, all sides of the islands can support you. So I feel very confident for those who may be upset about rail. Look at me as this person. I'm a strong leader. And when I believe in something, we'll get it done. And keep in mind too, on rail, the people voted for rail. They voted for rail.
Do you think they can
And,
get
and
over that? Because, you know, we saw,
let me finish, Annalise, okay?
oh,
The
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
people voted for rail. The people voted for the creation of HART. And every person who has run on an anti-rail platform has not won an election for mayor. So I really believe at the end of the day, the majority of the people want rail. But right now, they've been silenced because there's nothing to prove to that there's visible evidence that this project can actually operate. I'm a strong believer that they should, sooner rather than later, start rail service from Waipahu to Aloha Stadium. Get that going. And even from Aloha Stadium, you do a circulator bus system to get people into town, into Waikiki. For the life of me, I don't understand why the current administration hasn't been solidly in support of that with HART. Because HART's ready to go, but this administration obviously is not. We should be building along Dillingham as much as we can to take advantage of the down cycle. There's no traffic. People are being shuttered, basically staying at home more so. But you know, that's not happening either. So some common sense things that should be put in place are not being done. And that's what I will do when I come back.
That's good to know, because I think what has happened, you know, with kind of this division on how people feel about rail, you lost races. You lost, you know, the congressional seat race, the governor race, to Tulsi and to Tulsi Gabbard and David Ige, of course. But how are you going to approach this race now? You know, 10 years after you
Well,
were mayor.
there was also Neil Abercrombie. So I
Mhm.
say
Oh,
to you,
yes.
I I thought about it, and I thought at that time that I had something more to offer on the table. The people obviously felt different. So I say to you, do you still feel the same way about those folks that I lost to that you did then, um, today? That's my answer. Think about who I lost to.
And that's how
Tulsi,
they're going to make their
Neil
decision.
Abercrombie, and David Ige. So in this race here, I think it's very different because what they need now more than ever are the skill sets that I bring, because we are broken economically. And that's my strong suit, that I can do a better job. And at the end of the day, this is all going to be about leadership, strong leadership in tough times. And that's what we need more than ever. If you look around different places in the world, New Zealand, New York, they all have strong leaders there. Not necessarily liked because of all the projects they push, because sometimes they're not popular. But the order of the day is strong leadership, and that's what's missing.
Well, I have to say, Mufi, that you're entering this race is going to make it a lot more exciting than we thought it was originally going to be already, because there's so many candidates in it. So we'll have to see. Looking forward to some debates and
And
seeing
you know what?
how that
You know,
happens.
and you know what? So am I. I'm
And I think that will probably make, you know, I know that there's each candidate has their own strong suit, of course, but it'll be interesting to see how people tackle all of these discussions that we just talked about today. So,
Well, there's a 42% undecided factor out there.
and that's who
40,
you're targeting.
well, let me get it. You're always jumping here. There's a 42% undecided factor. And you've had candidates that have spent lots of money campaigning. They've got their banners and their signs all over the place. And, you know, I'm coming in now, and yet 42% of the people are saying, obviously, we're looking for something more. And I happen to believe they're looking for experience, strong leadership, and someone who's a collaborator. When I was a mayor, the four mayors worked together almost on everything that we did. That was Mayor Carvalho, Mayor Tavares, Mayor Kinoy, and yours truly. We were united and we got things done. And that's the same vision and passion that I'm going to take back. Work with the other mayors. They don't do that now as much as they did during our time. And more so during war, and that's what we had. It's not peace times, it's not prosperous times. You got to work together. You got to collaborate. So that's my style of leadership. It's a strong sense of leadership, but it's always about collaboration. Because if Oahu comes back strong, then it'll have a spillover effect from Maui, Kauai, and Hawaii Island. So this is a decision that I've made, thinking very carefully, can I really contribute at this point in time in our history? And more than ever, it's going to take strong, tested leadership to pull us through. And that's what I bring to the table. And I think people will ultimately respond to that, no matter what your feelings are. And as I said, you cannot deny we did a good job when I was mayor of Honolulu. We did a very good job. And therefore, that's what I hope to do, is take us back and bring it back and put people back to work. If you put me back at my old job, I will work day and night to put you back at yours, because we need to get Honolulu working together again.
All right. Well, thank you. On that note, Mufi Hannemann, thank you so much for sharing all this insight. I know everyone will be interested in hearing more from you as this race continues. So appreciate you.
Thank you.
Aloha.